How have you been, Hoyne? How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. It was a bit of a flat weekend, I felt. Like Saturday night saved it, but I think everything else
Did it
was
though?
pretty...
Can one game make up for 8 ordinary ones?
I think there's always something in each and every game,
Yep.
when you're sort of trying to deep dive into it. But the overall spectacle of the weekend was a little bit disappointing. I think the expectation of Saturday and Sunday football in particular was pretty high. What was delivered was a bit unders, but there's always something to look for.
I'm going to test you on something you're not that strong on, but it has divided the world. I heard Gerard Whateley said it was a free kick. David King said it was a free kick. I think it's absolutely – sorry, that wasn't a free kick. I think it was 100% a free kick. Where are you on the big free kick of the weekend?
Who cares?
Okay, there it is.
Was it a free kick?
He's an who cares, man.
It's just, you know where I sit on that, G.
Yeah.
And Sammy, I think you know well and truly by now. It's just, move on.
Yeah.
Free kicks.
Just another stat in the free kick column.
Jesus out here.
Hoyne doesn't even know how to spell umpires. That's how much he
No.
cares about it. All right, what he does care about, though, is the top 10 players. Now, you've got an update on where we sit in terms of the Lions of the Jungle at the moment?
Yeah, so we've been doing this for 2.5 years, and the feedback has been every 4 weeks, please. Every 4 weeks.
Okay.
So we stick to
We're into
that.
it again.
And then the feedback on top of that is interesting.
I was going to say, what feedback are we talking
What
about?
actually comes your way. So anyway, we'll go from 10 to 1. So this is where our rating system sits after round 8. So Bailey Dale comes in at number 10 in the competition. Bailey, 4 of the last 5 years, if he continues like that, will be a top 10 player in our competition of our rating system. This one's for Tim Watson. Nick Blakey comes in at number 9. So, again, Nick Blakey, this will be 3 years in a row if he continues this way.
Two halfback flankers so far,
Top
Hoyne.
10, yeah. We continue to talk about how important ball use is in the game.
Easiest position to play on the ground.
Ball
Hoyne.
use. You have more impact with ball use than the opposition. You win 86% of matches. Ball winning, 66% of the matches. How you use it, that's where the game is, G.
How you use it, Sammy. Get on board.
How you use it. Paul Curtis. Currently sits number 8 in the competition. I know there's a lot of talk around that.
Big loss.
Off the back of what Dangerfield did off the weekend, and Danger's rated extremely highly in our system at the moment as well. Who is that All-Australian forward at the
Now
moment?
we're talking.
This guy is flying at the moment. Unfortunately, given he's missing the next 2 weeks,
Yeah,
in
right.
the next edition at round 12, he probably won't be there because
Okay.
he's missed too much footy. But right now, he's number 8. A staple in our top 10 is Jack Sinclair.
That's 3 out of 3.
Yeah, so number
3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. 3 out of 4.
Sorry.
So number 7 in the competition for Jack Sinclair, going really well. We have our first pure midfielder in there, and that is Andrew Brayshaw. So Andrew Brayshaw's never been a top 85 player in our rating system at the moment. He is number 6 in the competition. How he is using the footy.
Much better.
Coming off
Keep talking about ball use. How he is using the footy is the reason why he has elevated his game this year.
Which is a big improvement for him, because I can remember sitting here in pre-season about 3 years ago and you telling me they haven't got an elite kick in their team, particularly going inside the forward 50. And now you're telling me Brayshaw's kicking is improved that much, or his disposal has improved that much. He is now in the top 10.
Yeah, so he's always hovered around that, that top 100 rating because he's able to win the footy and he's able to impact with his pressure game going the other way. But to elevate yourself like this, you need to have all components of the game down pat, and that's where he's
Well done to Brayshaw.
that's where he's come in. Riley Tilthorpe's still hanging around in there, so he's the 5th highest rated player at the moment. The number 1 rated key forward in our game.
Is that because of accuracy? Because he did have a couple of weekends where he missed a couple.
Yeah, so his accuracy is still strong, but how he wins it forward half of the ground.
Yeah.
If you win contest forward half of the ground, more often than not, that's going to translate to some sort of scoreboard return. So it's going to get recognised significantly. He does that so well.
Are you about to give us the name of another halfback?
Yeah, so Nasiah Wanganeen-Malira. So Nasiah Wanganeen-Malira comes in number 4 in the competition. Interesting to see him playing a little bit more centre bounce minutes over the last couple of weeks. But again, how he uses the footy is up there with the best in the competition. Ben Long comes in at number 3.
That's the biggest surprise of the year. That's been isn't it?
And we mentioned him. I don't know when did we mention him.
At round 2,
at round 4 or 5, and now I think the competition is aware of
They're
what
onto
this
him.
guy
Yep.
did. He was a huge loss for Gold Coast on the weekend against Brisbane. Wouldn't have changed the result, but he's significant to what they have done so far this year. Number 2 is Ed Richards. He's the second highest rated player in the competition this year. Has been inside our top 50 for the last 3 seasons, but what he is doing at the moment, he is the game's best midfielder at the moment. His performance on the weekend and so far this year has been superb.
Let's move him around a little bit because I reckon 3 weeks ago you said Brayshaw was the game's best midfielder.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago he was. He was number 3 in the competition. He was ahead of Ed Richards, but you can move very quickly in this in this rating system. So he's skyrocketed into number 2, and the game's number 1 player in the competition at the moment is Lockie Ash.
Off the halfback flank.
Lockie Ash. So
Were you surprised that the Swans didn't tag Ash? They ended up tagging...
I was. Yeah, no, I was. And I think...
Whitfield they tagged.
I think the role that Jordan has had on Whitfield has been so successful that you probably get it.
Give him
but what
another
this
nightmare.
guy... And I'll talk a little bit about GWS later on, but what this guy is doing at the moment has been phenomenal. So that's our top 10. Just want to mention just a couple just the players to watch both in the positive and the negative sense. So Josh Ward at the moment is flying in terms of his ability to be able to impact the game. And he might be another beneficiary of this blessing in disguise piece through opportunity to injury.
Yep.
So he's now starting to get a lot more centre bounce minutes, and what he's doing at the moment is superb. Ollie Dempsey is flying at the moment. Know that he won the Rising Star this last year, but he's a top 50 player in the competition. If you think he's a winger, you'll get fooled and you'll get exposed. Treat him as a forward, not a winger. Bailey Williams has moved down back for the Dogs over the last couple of weeks in the magnet changes to what Beveridge has done, and he's going extremely well, playing as a permanent defender. And then just a couple of players to watch. So the Geelong blokes are really interesting. I think they're only just going at the moment, the Cats. They've had a hard draw, but they're only just going at the moment. Max Holmes has gone from the 5th best player in the comp last year to outside the top 100 at the moment. So they've got to get him up and going. Jeremy Cameron, likewise. He's currently sitting at number 110.
I read somewhere today in one of the columnists, the thought was that Dangerfield has impacted on the likes of Jeremy Cameron. I would have thought Jeremy Cameron's impacted on Jeremy Cameron, not the fact that Paddy Dangerfield's down there.
So we're going to talk about our best and worst kicks next week. We've now got that data for 2025. That will explain a lot of what's going on with Jeremy.
718, what's an explanation? Did I miss Zach Merritt in the top 10, says 718.
Yeah, so Zach Merritt's going well. He's not in the top 10. He's 30th in the competition. Last couple of weeks, fantastic against North Melbourne, but the last couple of weeks before that, good, but not at the level that
You're
it
saying
was.
recency bias?
The first 5 or 6 weeks. His performance against North was superb.
Amazing.
But, and the interesting one, I know when you do this a lot of the time, Nick Dacos will get a lot of sort of questions about where he is. Just got to think big picture around this. We're not just off a 1 week period. It's now 3 games this year. Toby Bedford, George Hewitt and O'Shea Mallon where he's been tagged. And his performance has been okay, but it's been to expectation. It hasn't been to
above
Nick Dacos' level.
Well,
So,
we sort of suggested this may impact on Brownlows at the start of the season. The popularity now of the tag.
Yeah.
Do you reckon the Suns will ever use one?
It would have to be a significant shift in the Hardwick model.
They've been victims of it enough, that's for sure.
Well, it's just that the movie's been the same 3 times out of 3. Neil gets best on ground, and Real ends up with about 15 possessions.
Daniel Hoyne's here from Champion Data. It's full-on footy analysis. You can text us while Hoyney's here, 0433 98 11 16. So some of your observations and talking points from round 8, Hoyney. The question being, does fast equal good?
Yeah, and obviously, we've spoken a lot this year about speed of ball movement. Now that we can actually measure that, and now we've got it for the first time. You're doing a deep dive each week, each game, each quarter, how a team's playing, and as I keep talking about, it's becoming a real sort of cheat sheet with how teams are wanting to move it and the methods that they want to move it. And I think everyone just assumes that fast is good and slow is bad, but the reason why we keep on talking about it, that not necessarily being the case, was a great example in round 8. So Port Adelaide on the weekend against the Dogs, quarter 1 and quarter 3 with the wind. Gale wind, quarter 1, win the toss, kick with the wind, got to set the game up. Their first quarter and third quarter were 2 of their 3 quickest quarters for the season in terms of how they moved the footy. but it played beautifully into the Dogs' hands behind the footy. They were set. Only won the first quarter by 3 points, which was a significant loss with that wind. And then in the third quarter, when they went at a fast, quick, ballistic pace, lost the quarter by 32 points. You go to Saturday night. Saturday night, first 3 quarters, Geelong. We've talked about how they can adapt their method of speed of ball based on the opposition, but more often than not, they're a fast forward team. First 3 quarters against Collingwood on Saturday night, they're in fast forward mode. They're going quick, they're going forward, they're aggressive. That's the Geelong mode, but it was playing into Collingwood's hands. Then the last quarter on Saturday night against Collingwood was their 5th slowest quarter for the year. So they've played 32 quarters of footy. That was their 5th slowest quarter for the year. They went into pause mode. They took the footy, take the time, surge, then go forward, create stoppage, bring Collingwood into the trenches off the back of your ball movement game. 32 stoppages in a quarter is unheard of in dry conditions. Brought it into a stoppage game, blitzed Collingwood in the stoppage game. Last 3 goals of the game come off the back of stoppage. Tick to the coach's box, tick to the players for implementing it off the back of a slower ball movement approach.
Gee, that's fascinating.
And then the Sydney game on the weekend, and Sydney for the season, I know you're fascinated with this, G. So Sydney's 5 quickest games of the season, 0 and 5. Sydney's 3 slowest games of the season, 3 and 0.
Too fast for their own good.
So that's why it's always a method around scoreboard return and what's coming for and what's actually coming from it. So
what I find interesting about the way they're going, they look to me as if they've introduced a lot more handball coming out of their back line when they're flying. Last 2 weeks, their first quarters, it's just been like tsunami. And yet they haven't been able to maintain that. And I think the Lizard sometimes, which is why I was surprised he was at the top of your tree, he's gone pretty quick, the Lizard, and turned the ball over a fair bit this year. So
yeah, he has. His kicking is still to AFL average,
right,
based on the type of kicks that he's trying to pull off. But he's trying to pull off aggressive kicks. And as I said to you a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the Blakey discussion, when he pulls them off,
he gets big points.
He gets significant return from them because they are so aggressive and they change the game. Yes, he will turn the footy over sometimes, but the positivity outweighs the negativity with how he actually uses the ball.
That's fascinating. Does fast equal good? You've got Collingwood written down here. Now, the Pies go down to Geelong, as you've just articulated. They're going to rest a quartet of stars, and they've got a 5-day break and a travel west to take on Fremantle, who you would like to think, will be smarting, but how do you want to break down the Pies?
Yeah, so I think holistically, profile-wise, at the moment, it is a profile that you want to be jumping on board.
Right.
For all the key areas that we measure with success and running the exercise of history and what correlates to that. Right here, right now, their profile is get on board and prepare yourself as a Collingwood supporter to be going to September footy late in the season. But following on from the ball movement discussion, and we've spoken about this, and I just continually want to put this on the agenda with how they actually play. So we talk about them last week being in split screen mode with when they go by foot, they're slow. When they go by hands, they're quick. Okay. So and again, Saturday night, went along to watch and you sit there and you can't help but watch it once you know what the numbers are actually telling you. So, and we'll talk about Freo next, but everyone is talking about Freo being how slow they are, and the ball movement is slow, and that is true. But from a set position, so when a team either takes a mark or from a free kick, Collingwood are the second slowest ball movement team in the competition.
When they take a mark or a free kick?
They're the second slowest team in the competition. And I was talking to people about this yesterday, about, does that actually surprise you? And a few of them were Collingwood supporters, and they're like, no, now you actually tell us it actually doesn't surprise us. Like when we get the footy in that mode,
go sideways.
It's stop. No, it's just stop.
Yep.
Relax, stop, and then we'll go. And I don't know whether or not that is to set up defensively, because right now the defensive profile is, if not the best, one of the best in the competition. So to actually help set up behind the footy. But the split screen mode then comes into play once the game's in general play. They're one of the quickest teams.
What about on turnover? They look like they go quick.
So if the game's in flow, they join in in that phase of the game. And I think that's why, as an industry, we all probably assume that this team is one of the quickest teams in the competition because you can't get that phase and that aspect of the game out of your head. But when it's actually in a set position phase, they're not that team. They're in the Freo. They're in the Freo basket of hold, then go, hold and then go, hold and then go. So there's two different modes to look for. Keep an eye on that Thursday night. Keep an eye on that moving forward for Collingwood, because you go to that, back to that game on Saturday night, and it was one of the best games that we've seen for a long time.
Yep.
And the Collingwood ball movement method for the first three quarters was that way. They were extremely conservative and extremely slow from set position play, but then from general play, they were pretty quick. But somehow or another, Geelong in that last quarter were able to extract some speed off Collingwood from set position play more than we have seen from Collingwood this year. They dragged them out of their comfort zone and away from the ball movement method that we actually have seen for Collingwood for the previous 25 quarters this season. So, as I said, there's not necessarily fast equals good, slow equals bad. Collingwood have proved that. Round 8 proved that. There's just a couple of different modes that you can have that translate to the scoreboard. Collingwood do it in two different ways.
All right, that's the pies, G.
I've just got a question here we might throw at you, Hoyney, because a lot of people want some answers. Hoyney, love the segment. Melbourne supporter. I understand the inside mids at Melbourne convert around 65% of first possession to clearance. How does that compare to the top teams? And ever since you introduced Bevo's Strip Club, I can't get my eyes off who gets first possession and who gets stripped.
I heard you were going to say something else.
I heard you talking about that in what games you doing?
On the Giant, the Suns and Brisbane.
Yeah, so no, there are different ways in which you can go about the clearance game. So I think Melbourne's first possession to clearance rate is around about 70-75%, which would put you in the bottom handful in the competition.
The bottom,
So AFL average is about 75 to 80%.
Okay.
Anything above 80% is a great return. So they if that's the case, they would be in the bottom few in the competition.
So Collingwood's ball movement speed was on your menu. With Fremantle, are we going down a similar path, or something else caught your eye about the Dockers?
No, two things that caught my eye with the Dockers. So first and foremost, what they did on Friday night with how they moved it should not have taken anyone by surprise. It was a Fremantle ball movement profile that they have delivered for the entire season.
But it felt as conservative as it's ever been.
Yeah, and I heard Hutto in the Fox coverage mention it. Obviously, shout out to Hutto for referencing the speed of ball movement stuff, because it is that has been them for the whole year. We have tried and we have spoken about it time after time after time. That speed of ball movement for them on the weekend was actually a mid-table speed of ball movement for them for this season.
Mid-table?
We keep talking. We've never seen a team as slow with ball in hand in terms of when they get it to when they get rid of it as what Fremantle are, and by miles. Okay, so I think the reason why it stood out is that, they couldn't actually change the method at all, across the game. So halftime, 20 points down.
One trick pony.
And that's probably the frustration that a lot of people are having around it, because it did look poor.
Well, Mark Duffield called it Justin Longmuir's worst coaching performance in the entirety of his Fremantle tenure yesterday, this time last night. So I thought that really
was
struck
fairly
with
solid.
Me. A very solid take.
With the Dockers, they don't appear to have the plan B. Where are they on your TV screen?
Oh, no. They're the owners of the pause button.
They're the pause button. That's right.
No. They're
Just wanted to get the TV
They're the
screen.
custodians of the pause button.
Okay.
There's a few that fit into the pause category, but Freo are the ones that are in charge of the pause category there. So, as I keep saying, there's with your ball movement method, you do whatever you want to do, so long as it's correlating to a scoreboard return. But if you just keep thinking about how they play, hold, and then go, right? Clear as day. That's what they want to do. If you want to play that way, it is a hard way to win, because you are having to win that contested ball.
Yeah, got to go through congestion at some stage.
Nothing's easy. Nothing's going to be easy in your game. It's not going to be methodical. It's not going to be a lot of uncontested footy. It's going to be relying on contest. The challenge that they've got is that for a number of years now, Fremantle have been one of the worst contest teams in the competition in that phase of the game, in that post-clearance contest. They have been one of the worst. They were last year. They were good around clearance. Outside of that, they were poor. You would think if they're going to develop this model, they're going to back themselves, they're going to change their contest method in this phase. What we have seen so far this year is not the case.
Are they in any way capable of winning the flag this year?
Not off the profile at the moment.
Okay.
Not off the profile. Ask me that in 4 weeks' time if it's changed. So if you're going to go down this way, right? So you look at some teams that have implemented the Fremantle method with ball in hand.
So is this the old defending with the ball, or is that being offensive to Fremantle? Is there another reason behind? Is it?
Well, I think if you, this is why I'm fascinated by this contest stuff, because I think if you look at the names on paper, you go, okay, well, the tall Timby where you got Tracy, Jackson can take a grab, Amos is there.
Yep.
On the deck, then you go, okay, well, if they don't take it, they'll bring it to ground. Well, then you got Bolton, you got Frederick, you got Sukowski, you got Young, you got Brayshaw, you got Sarong, so it's like, okay, well, I would think on paper.
So they've got a chaotic list.
You've got that there to play that way, but the returns that you're getting are bottom four in the competition in that phase. If that stays bottom four off the back of playing this hold, go long phase, well, you're gone.
Yeah.
Because you can't get any scoreboard return off it. So I'm more interested in, like, you run the exercise of teams that have played this way over the last 7 years. It's a hard way to win and win consistently.
Who's played like it?
So, ironically, Fremantle themselves played it in year 2 under Jocelyn Longmuir. No good, didn't win a final. Essendon under Ben Rutten in 2021 played like it. No good, didn't win a final. GWS in 2021, they did play like that and got to a semi-final, so well done. But
they gave away the tsunami, didn't they? And then as soon as the new coach came in, he went bang.
He
we'll
brought
take
that
it
back in. So I just want to see Thursday night, this is the mode that they'll play. If it's becoming a challenge, what else can you throw to? Have you got another mode? We saw the Geelong mode on Saturday, multiple modes to throw to.
Yep.
We haven't seen that with Freo.
109, vanilla. All right.
You got 3 shades of vanilla.
That's the Fremantle Dockers there, he told us. Okay, guess who?
You're not getting this one. 100%
I've
you're
heard
not
this
getting this
before.
one. Last 2 years, when this individual has played as a forward, he has had the 3rd most impact in the competition. So the last 2 years, when this individual plays as a forward, he has the 3rd most impact of any player in the competition as a forward.
Now, Gerard,
Who
the
is
names
that?
have flown through as they always do in the ad break. There's some obvious ones. The Bont's coming through. Sicily's coming through. Dangerfield's there. Blake Hardwick is there. Jeremy Howe's getting a mention.
Hawk skipper Sicily.
Sicily's in there, yep, absolutely. So they're all there. Cam Rayner's in there. So a heap of nominations coming through. Now, just to recap, because I wasn't here last week, Hoyney was batting at 0% when I left for Cobram Estate.
Yeah.
What happened last
He
week?
embarrassed himself last week.
Lost again?
Yep. Whitey got the gold. I picked up the silver.
What do you mean the silver? 2 in a night.
Well, I got the second.
Well, there was he got done twice
He
in a
got
night.
done twice, yeah.
So not only is he
He had the
winless on the
second-ranked
season,
team last week.
Second ratest. I took that as a medal.
he's lost twice in a night. He's up again. No wonder he's been biting his nails all that break. All right. Well, Eddie Corns has been on fire out the
He
back.
has, yeah.
He's nailed I don't know how many. So
Actually,
I feel like
very good at his job too. Well done, Eddie.
100%. I feel like I need to represent Eddie.
Okay.
Now, Eddie didn't hesitate. He burst into the studio during
did.
the break and he said, "Boys, it's the captain of Adelaide. It's Jordan Dawson."
Yeah.
It's
I
not a
liked
bad
it.
shout.
I liked his idea. I'm a big Sicily fan. I think that, but I can't go past Aaron Francis.
Oh, man.
I'm
The
going
great-
with Aaron Francis when he goes forward. Geez, he's impressive.
The last defender of Aaron Francis, but I'd feel shocking if I didn't give Eddie his moment.
Okay, you're going JD.
So I'm going Jordan Dawson, but lay it on us, Hoyney.
Yeah, geez, I've never been so nervous. The last 2 years, this has been the easiest segment ever. But
I changed my mind.
This year, I'm nervous, but I'm going to give myself high fives here. I didn't think anyone would get that, and no one has actually got that.
No one off
answer
the screen
tonight.
either.
No one off the screen.
Well, there's
no
a Ben
one-
Long, there's
no
Isaac
one in
Rankin.
here. So I'm going to give you the top 10.
Okay.
Right? The top 10
Oh, wow.
most impactful players when they play as a forward the last 2 years.
I
Right.
can't believe he nailed one.
Okay. Isaac Heaney, number 1. No forward has more impact when they play as a forward than what he does. Took Miller.
So Heaney's
Heaney's
one.
the answer?
Heaney's one.
Okay.
No. So number 3. This is number 3.
Okay.
Who's the third? Who has the third most?
All right.
impact?
Oh, my
So Heaney's 1.
Yeah.
Took Miller is 2. Blank for 3. Paddy Cripps, Marcus Bontempelli, Isaac Rankin, Hayden Young, Zach Butters, Christian Petrarca, Ed Richards.
I've got it now. I should've.
Phenomenal list.
Dangerfield.
Phenomenal list. Number 3, Josh Weddle.
Josh Weddle.
Josh
That is
Weddle.
I could have been here till tomorrow.
Josh
That's
Weddle. So, I'm telling you blokes are going to get
Waddling
nothing for
Weddle.
I have given far too much away.
Josh Weddle
So
is
you're gonna
coming
get
out with.
nothing. So when I came across this,
I can't even envisage him spending that much time for it.
So when I had a look at this on Sunday and just seeing him play a little bit more forward time, so the Mitchell experiment, we talk about this a little bit. We're only at round 8. We're not even a third of the way through the season until we get to the end of grand final week. So love what Mitchell is doing with experimenting at the back 30, 40 minutes of a game so far this year. So most of the time it's been Sicily. Last 2 weeks, you got to get back to form 100%, down back. At times it's been Hardwick. Last week against Richmond, no, 100% down back. But three of their 8 games so far this year, it has been Weddle that has been that one. The first game of the year against Sydney, now the last 2 weeks. And he did it at times last year. And the returns that he's delivering when playing as a forward are obvious. They're there. He's with the best players in the competition when they're getting rested forward. Now this guy's getting thrown forward. And we sort of appreciate what Mitchell and what Hawthorn do, sitting back and trying to experiment and trying to be different and trying to evolve and what have you. I think this guy as a forward and then the ability to be able to play a little bit of second ruck and just let him go around and roam around the ground. I don't know what you think, Gerard, and I don't know what you think, Sammy, as well, but I don't know what this guy's going to be as a player moving forward in the competition.
Maybe he is what he is.
Yeah, just a bit of everything.
Yeah.
But when this guy goes forward, if you're Melbourne this week or whoever you are
Look out.
coming up, if you're a contender, Hawthorn are going to be there. Just watch out for this guy and be prepared for, to match him up appropriately because the returns that he gets as playing inside that forward 50 are the third best in the competition.
Could be the new Blitzers.
It could be, but we don't really see Blitzarves sort of playing
Kicking
that
goals.
role. I don't know, Sammy. You're a Carlton supporter. I'm too young for coup de fees, but someone mentioned that to me a couple of weeks ago.
Not a bad comparison.
That he's got the height and the ability to run around or whatever. I can't really remember.
He's got some great physical gifts, hasn't he? And he's a powerful athlete, Josh Weddle.
What did he go? He was the Hawks traded up to get him at about pick 18. So it was a pretty good pick.
Yeah, no, it's been a fantastic pick, and he's So just watch out for what he's doing.
The Weddle Waddle forward to the centre.
Yep, 20 years of age, he is. Okay, that's the Guess Who. Sadly, we struck out G and Eddie, but we'll be back
for a number of weeks.
Okay.
I feel like we won't be out in the cold for long. Yeah, real nasty. Some pent up frustration. That. Hey, I don't know if 36 is a new 30, but you want to talk about ageism.
So speak about pent-up frustration. One of my biggest bugbears that has been for a number of years is ageism. And as an industry, I feel like we all get so obsessed with youth.
Yep.
And it's great to have youth. It's great to have debutants. It's great to have draft picks, all that. I think it's a rubbish. Like there is, and I heard Kingy say this as well. I couldn't agree. There's nothing wrong with being old, right? So I'll go back to the Freo discussion, but it's more of a bigger picture discussion than that, right? So on average this year, they are the youngest team in the competition each week, okay? 24 and a half years per player gets selected each week for Fremantle, right? So to bring that into a bit of context, for teams that have been around that 24 and a half age bracket for the last 8 years, which has happened 20 times, not one team has won a final with that age profile. Not one. Right? But you run the exercise of the 20 oldest teams that we've seen at our time in champion data. Half of them go on to make a prelim or more.
Yep.
And only 5 times have they missed finals. But of those 5 times, Collingwood 2024 was one of the oldest teams that we've seen on average. They won a flag the year before.
Yep.
Geelong 2023, one of the oldest teams on average. They won a flag the year before. Richmond 2023, one of the oldest teams that we've seen. They won 3 flags as previously.
It's a bit of a hangover.
So, so you know what I mean? So
why are we so bullish on Fremantle then as being
I think we
so ready?
Because as an industry, I think we get so excited by youth. And they have a cluster of players that are in that 23, 24. So they're not absolute babies of the 18, 19, 19-year-olds. And I think...
But no old timers to blow out the...
I think we also get excited by their upper levels. Like we see them smash Adelaide off the park and think, well, okay, now you've turned up, here we go. But then they turn up twice now. They've turned up and have been lamentable after they got off a plane.
And I think, the Collingwood conversation, right, it just generated so much feedback in the off-season. Oh, what are you doing? Getting rid of your first pick. What are you doing? Are you serious?
Kane's worried about the winter months. Is there a problem with the winter months with the ageism?
We're going to go out and we're going to get rid of our first pick to get up one of the best halfback flankers in the competition. And we're going to have a crack at winning it. Yep. And we're going to be the oldest team in history. But right now, you're premiership favourite. Yeah, go for it. And if you win it, great. And if you don't, as a common sport, well, at least we had a crack. Hawthorn, there's this thought out there that Hawthorn's quick rebuild has all been through the draft.
Yep.
We talked about this for the back end of last year. More often than not in their best team that was selected each week last year, it was only 3 players that were taken at high-end draft selections. It was all done off the back of creative and brilliant list management decisions to get players in elsewhere. So Collingwood are old this year. Brisbane are old this year. Geelong are old this year. GWS are one of the older teams in the competition, and so too are Carlton. And if Carlton get going, that means all 5 of them are there to challenge this year. So, yeah.
It makes me very concerned about the West Coast Eagles. There's everybody, all the cheer squad is saying, let's get rid of the skipper, Oscar Allen. Let's get rid of him. Let's get rid of Harley Reid. Let's sack this bloke. Let's sack that. Let's reload through the draft. Well, if they go that young, they will take a decade.
We get stuck in a vicious cycle then, don't you?
Good luck.
Where the kids don't want to stay because they're getting pumped, and then the history just keeps repeating. Back to the draft. They
Doesn't
leave,
matter
back to
how
the-
good a club you are, if you're losing 20 games out of 22, who wants to stay around for that? It's
I don't
a
think
disaster.
Oscar Allen's staying though, Gerard.
I'm not saying he's
going.
staying, but there seems to be this push. Let's get these draft picks. Well, let's start the rebuild. Well, the rebuild, you'll end up like having 3 rebuilds.
I think you might be headed to the club that you're about to discuss next, the Brisbane Lions. What caught your eye about them?
Yeah, so I just want to give a bit of recognition, and I don't think, yes, they are so talented as a group, right? And we can all see that, but I don't think at times the coaching group gets some recognition that they deserve for a performance that they put together. So we all talk about Chris Scott, well done the last quarter, fantastic. Ross Lyon, brilliant, like coaching display, sensational. Brisbane, they just get the job done. They came up against a red-hot Gold Coast team.
Yeah, they were.
Right?
Yep.
And coaching 101. So Josh Dunkley, Matty Rowe's their most important player. We're going to go straight to him, lock him away. Well done. Take that away. All right, the ball movement game is so important. It's 65, 70% of scoring. Who's their most important ball movement contributor? Daniel Rioli. Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put Callum Archie to Daniel Rioli. Brilliant. And then we know that they play a surge, fast, long, go direct, whatever. Okay, well, let's embrace that and let's bring them into that game because, in my thought, they have the best key defensive duo in the competition in Jack Payne and Harris Andrews.
So what, invite that?
So we're going to embrace that. We're going to let them bring that in. We're going to let that bring that because behind the footy, we've got 2 players that have taken 45 plus intercept marks between them, which is in the top handful of duos in the game. Off the back of what they do, their intercept work and their ability to be able to get scoreboard return is the best key defensive duo in the competition with their scoreboard return from their intercept work. So let's embrace that and let's bring that into play. And then you hear Damien Hardwick at halftime on the coverage mention, we probably have to change up the way that we're moving the footy because we can't get through this Brisbane system and what they're actually doing behind the footy. So I think big picture-wise, profile-wise, they've got a lot of work to do, Brisbane, to get back to where they were. They're 7-1, whatever they are. It's perfect. Win-loss record. Blokes coming back in. They've got a lot of work to do to get back to where they want to be.
Yep.
But just what they did to Gold Coast, don't wipe it under the table and just go, okay, yeah, well done.
Top side.
That was a brilliant display of what they did in the coach's box on Sunday night.
Can I ask you on the back of that, is Harris Andrews Brisbane's most important player? Because as much as Lachie Neale has won so many awards, etc., they've got a lot of Lachie Neale types. They haven't got a lot of Harris Andrews types.
Yeah, it's a good question who the most... he's probably going to be up there. But
maybe it's Oscar, but they had a backup in the grand
I
final.
don't think. And this is the beauty about them.
Yeah.
Is that I don't know who like I know everyone thinks go to Lockie Neal, but I'm looking at going, geez, well Hugh McCluggage, I'll be going Hugh McCluggage.
Yeah. Well,
or,
but
Will Ashcroft.
They've
or
got
Lockie Neal,
they've got a powerful midfield.
But then behind the footy now, they've got reinforcements that are coming back now as well. Okay. So like they're well placed. Their profile's got a bit of work to do, but what they did Sunday night, huge tick to the coach's box.
Just before we break, the Giants have lost their last 3 and they can't score. Hoyney, how do you diagnose a problem like the Giants?
So we identified a couple of weeks ago with the speed of ball movement stuff, which, as I keep saying, is a cheat sheet. Change of angles, change of angles, change of angles. That is their game. If you're not prepared for that, well, you're not doing your job properly. So the last 3 weeks, they are still trying to play an aggressive change of angles game. But because the competition is aware of what they're trying to do, they are getting held up far more than we have seen a GWS model for years.
So what are they going to do, Hoyney?
So they're going slower, and then, we have to go. So the challenge is, as we said a couple of weeks ago, can they evolve their offensive ball movement method to not just rely on this change of angles game? And right now, they can't. The last 3 weeks, there's no team that's worse in the competition at winning the footy and then getting it back on the scoreboard. So that is a huge issue. And you talk about, their ability to be able to lose territory. So their ball movement is struggling. Yep. Their clearance game is 18th in the competition. And I just wonder whether or not they can potentially look at Lockie Ash, who is our number 1 rated player on the competition. Can he be their Ed Richards?
Well, their clearance game is really, if you're not getting it off the half-back line, which is a tsunami, which they've been so good at, and their clearance game is in the toilet, then all of a sudden, and Kieran Briggs may not even play this week, which is going to be an issue, then they've got some issues.
And you talk about most important player for Brisbane being Harris Andrews. I don't know if this guy's most important. Without Brent Daniels in that team, it's a huge loss. Yeah. I don't even know how far away he is. He might be back this. I got no idea, but it's just to watch this ball movement method. Can they change and actually get something going? And can they reinvigorate this midfield group?
Geez, you're on a roll tonight. Johnny's text in. Hoyney, you are a legend. I've been waiting for this all bloody week. It was a great win over Gold Coast. Go the mighty Lions. So John's happy with your plaudits for the Brisbane Lions coaching staff.
We've had a little bit of interest in flyers, good flyers, bad flyers, Hoyney.
Yeah, so the Lions are really good flyers. This is just short notice. This is just looking at interstate v local games. So, so the Lions have a great record last 2.5 years, 19 and 10. Crows not so well, 6 and 17 on the road. The Dockers, where are the Dockers? Yeah, they're not. Where are they? I
think you said 5 and 5.
Lee in Greensboro is asking, we knock Freo as bad travellers, so which teams have the worst on-plane profile?
Yeah, no, the Dockers are actually a little bit better than I actually thought that they were. Sorry, G. So they're actually just under 50%. Yeah, so Adelaide probably the surprise there as the ones that struggle more.
All right, you got a list here. Who did they miss out of the weekend?
Riley West down in Ballarat, 3rd highest rated player on the ground. Fantastic ball use was his main asset. 15 disposals, 10 score involvements. Alex Nilballen on Saturday. He's been a great pickup there for Adelaide, 4th highest rated player. Inside the top 30 at the moment, having a career best season.
Well played.
Caleb Windsor, we've spoken about him on this show, going to be so important to Melbourne moving forward. His ball use is what separates him, 5th highest rated player on the ground.
Oliver out, Windsor in.
Yeah. Ollie Dempsey, as I said at the top of the show, actually the highest rated player on the ground. Treat him as a forward. Don't treat him as a winger. You will get burnt if you do. And Tom McCartan, 2nd highest rated player on the ground. Sydney v Jet Eberus. Kept Hogan to the 3rd lowest rated player on the ground. So superb in what Tom McCartan did on Sunday.
So there were some big wins in that coach's box too, absolutely, with the matchups. The MDP, most damaging player.
Ed Richards, that's the 2nd best game we've seen by any Bulldogs player in our ratings history.
So
well done to Ed Richards.
Got number 1 on him?
Actually, Luke Dalhouse is the highest rated game. He played a game in 2017, 2018, which got him almost 40 rating points.
That would have been a good who am I?
Superb, but Josh Weddle was good enough. Got you blokes. Ball use, Ed Richards as well, no surprise there. Ball winning, no one's had more impact through their ball winning actions in any game this year than what Max Gawn did against West Coast. And Tom McCartan, as we just said before, deserves a lot of credit for what he did defensively on the weekend.
Give us your gem out of the weekend.
Gem. So go down to Ballarat on Saturday. 48 points the Dogs scored from forward 50 stoppage. Most ever in a game of footy by any team.
Wow.
They're a happy team at the moment, the Dogs.
All right.
48 points. Don't want to rely on that, but it was dominant.
Got deja vu here, but the horror?
Yeah, I really don't want to do this, but I will.
Again.
So North have won 9 of their last 80 games. It's the worst 80-game stretch we've seen by any team since 1967.
The old worse than Fitzroy applause.
Worse than Fitzroy.
9 from 80.
Worst 80-game
Just
period
goes to show about
since
rebuilds.
Fitzroy in 1967.
Rebuilds take a long time.